In this video, I'm going to break down why I buy gold, silver, and Bitcoin. This is Jake Ducey with JakeDucey.com, and in this video, I'm going to share with you my top reasons for buying gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Let's dive right into this video. So the first reason that I buy gold, silver, and a little bit of Bitcoin is that all fiat currencies fail. They always have and they always will. Fiat is failure. Comment that down below. Fiat is failure. Comment that down below. So what is fiat currency? Basically, it's a currency that's backed by absolutely nothing, that's controlled by central banks or the Federal Reserve, and it allows them to counterfeit the currency. And the reality is that every time we've had fiat currency through human history, it's always collapsed. This was the fall of the Roman Empire. They used to have solid money that was backed by gold and silver. And to continue to fund the war state, the war and the welfare state, what the government started doing is when they would collect tax revenue in forms of gold and silver, what they would do is they would clip the edges of the gold coins off, and then they would fill it with nickel and copper. And then they would take those clippings and melt it down into solid bars of gold and silver. So they were stealing the people's money. At the time, that was called debasement. Debasement. Now, in modern time, our $100 bill costs them like 5 cents to print anyways, so they don't clip the edges of paper off, and we don't use gold and silver, so they don't clip the edges of it off. Instead, what they do is something that Ron Paul calls the hidden tax. The hidden tax is called monetary inflation. It's when you inflate the money supply. Now, they can inflate the money supply because they're the ones that have the printing press. They're the ones that hit enter to create more money supply. So simply what they do to grow the economic bubble bigger and bigger is they print a bunch of money and make interest rates at zero. So it's really cheap to borrow money. And when you keep printing more and more and more money, what happens is the value and the confidence of that dollar goes down and down and down and down and down. And what happens is it devalues against hard assets such as gold, silver, Bitcoin, or real estate, anything that has a real intrinsic value. The purchasing power of the dollar goes down against it. So to illustrate my point here, let's look at this chart right now that's coming up on the screen. So what this chart is the M1 money stock. So this is the money supply. And look at this. This is hilarious. So this starts in 1980 right here, and you can see the money supply going up, going up, going up, going up. And then in 2020, what happens is it goes to a straight incline. So think about it like this. If every single person in the world had a Ferrari, would a Ferrari be valuable? No. The reason a Ferrari is valuable is because most people can't buy it. So the way for something to have value is that it is in essence slightly scarce. It doesn't need to be entirely scarce, right? But it needs to have some measure that allows central banks to not inflate it to an infinite degree. And that's what Bitcoin has, that's what silver has, and that's what gold has. They're assets that can't be inflated away. Now, the next reason that I buy gold, silver, and Bitcoin is the United States national debt. So the national debt in the United States is over $20 trillion, and it increases every year. In fact, the United States government doesn't have any wealth of its own. The wealth that it gets is through taxing us, but it spends more money than we give it in taxes. So this next chart here that I am pulling up on the screen is actually a chart of the United States national debt. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so as you see now on the screen here, this is absurd. It's a straight incline of the United States national debt. So let's look at this in another way. let's pretend that I started issuing currency. I started issuing currency backed by gold, so everybody wanted it. But then I slowly took the gold away, and then I gave you paper IOUs, and then I printed a bunch of paper IOUs and gave them out to anyone. That would be called a Ponzi scheme. But when the United States government does it, it's called the rule of law. And so the reality is the United States can never pay its national debt. A lot of economists say they don't even need to pay it back entirely, but they have to make a positive direction in that way. We don't even make a positive direction that way. What we do is we make the interest rates cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And this is how messed up our system is. The way that it works is the Federal Reserve prints the money, which is a central bank that's controlled by the ruling elites of the world that have enslaved humanity. They lend it to the United States government. So they lend it to us. So it's money that the Federal Reserve counterfeits. Then they lend it to the United States government. And then the United States government spends it and then pays the Federal Reserve back with interest. So the only way for things to continue is interest rates will eventually have to go negative. They're at zero now. The reason that this has to happen is we have to keep taking on and refinancing debt with lower and lower interest, because we can't pay the debt back at higher interest levels. So we have to go negative. Otherwise, the principal and interest on the debt will get too much and the United States wouldn't be able to pay it. So what they do is they continue to print more of it at lower and lower interest rates, and now we're basically at zero. It will be negative in the next couple years. And that's the only way they can make the debt manageable. So if you are being issued a currency that is printed with an infinite amount with no regard to ever paying it back, the debt of the government that backs it prints more and more and more of it every year, how secure are you holding all of your assets in it? Not very secure. That's why I buy gold, silver, and Bitcoin. The next reason that I diversify some of my currencies, some of my money outside of just fiat currency, and I put it into money, something that can't be inflated away, i.e. gold, silver, and Bitcoin, is that we will have a new world monetary system. Ray Dalio talked about it recently on CNBC. And so far, over the last 100 years, we've had 4 different monetary systems. We've had a classical gold standard system, a gold exchange system, which was basically we were issued Federal Reserve notes, but we could exchange them for gold. Then we had the Bretton Woods system, and now we have the US dollar system. So the US dollar system is clearly a giant bubble that could burst at some point in our lifetimes. So they're going to, in order to maintain their ruling, controlling power over the population, once the population loses enough confidence in the United States dollar, they will make another one. I don't know what it will be and what it'll be backed by, if anything, but there will be another one. We're coming to the end of the road on the current monetary system. The next reason that I do this is a hedge against inflation. Right now, we're not necessarily in a totally inflationary environment. A lot of people would say we're in a deflationary environment. The difference of that means is in a deflationary environment, there isn't enough money to go around and nobody's willing to spend their money because the market psychology is such that people are afraid. But what will happen when the dust settles is the Fed will go totally haywire and print an insane amount of money or make interest rates negative. And so what that's going to mean is money's going to be circulating all over the place because it's worthless and everybody will be trying to buy stuff with it. So the cost of everything will go up. The cost of everything will inflate. And so the gold, silver, and Bitcoin will be asset classes that will actually increase in value over the next couple decades because they will actually be a hedge against inflation. Now, this one's just for gold and silver. I buy gold and silver because that's what the central banks and the countries all over the world buy. Now, Russia, China, Iran, Germany, these countries are buying tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of gold. Now, if you don't believe me, let me show you a chart. Okay, so in this chart right here, you will see that in around 2007, 2008 is when the central banks around the world started buying less gold. Now, this was about the time when we were just heading into this giant bubble that bursted before the Great Recession. They convinced us the economy was so great, so then the central banks start easing on buying gold. Everything blows up. We have the big crash in the economy around this time, and then the central bank buying of gold just starts going haywire. 2008, 2009, 2010, and it's increased every single year, and this chart only goes up to 2018. Now, why do you think they're buying so much gold? Do you think they're buying gold because they trust the United States dollar? Do you think they're buying gold because they trust the reserve currency of the world? Do you think they're buying gold because they're making jewelry with it? Do you think they're buying gold because they think it's shiny and makes good furniture? Do you think they're buying gold because they're idiots? Because they're lunatics? Do you think they're buying gold because the central banks are conspiracy theorists? They're buying gold because they are aware, the ruling elite are aware that we will have a new world currency. There's a good possibility one day it could be a gold one. Even if it's not, they're aware that there will be huge turbulence with the dollar. Why do the central banks know this? So the central banks know this because they're the ones printing all the fiat currency, and they know that the bubble will pop eventually. So they're printing all this, but the way they maintain their power is they let all of us idiots play in fiat currency, but then behind the scenes they store the gold. So eventually, if all of us idiots go, hey, we don't want this fiat currency anymore, then they'll go, okay, well, we're the ones that still make the rules, because the golden rule is he who has the gold makes the rules, and they're going to have all the gold stored away. They aren't buying all this gold because they're conspiracy theorists. Look at this. They told us we had this great rebound in the economy. If you look at the chart again, from 2013 up until about 2019, they told us we had this great, like the best economy ever, right? Why were they buying gold during the best economy ever? Because they knew that the recovery in the economy was BS. It wasn't real. It wasn't a real recovery in the economy. It was a recovery that happened due to an artificial boom in asset prices, in stock prices, and in housing prices, because money was so cheap, so easy to borrow, and there was so much money being printed that money had to go somewhere. So it went into financial assets and real estate, and it increased the list price. It increased the asset price of things, but it didn't increase the production. And they were aware at some point this boom cycle of a debt-based recovery was going to pop, and they were hedging their bets by buying gold. Now, the last reason of many, many, many reasons that I have a percentage of my wealth in gold, silver, and a bit in Bitcoin. I have less Bitcoin than I have gold and silver. The reason I have less is because, one, I want the physical, but two, because I'm following what the central banks are doing. But the reason that I own gold, Bitcoin, and silver is, quite frankly, because they're going to be able to buy more in the future. So as more and more people lose confidence in the petrodollar, paper dollar system, more and more people are going to be buying gold. More and more people are going to be buying silver. More and more people are going to be buying Bitcoin, which is going to drive the price of those things up, while the rest of the asset classes, while the dollar itself goes like this. So 10 years down the road, my purchasing power is going to preserve, if not increase, by having assets that do well or will do well in an inflationary environment, and it helps me sleep better at night. So this is Jake Ducey with JakeDucey.com, and in this video I want to share with you why I buy gold, silver, Bitcoin, and what I didn't talk about, what else I buy, is gold and silver mining stocks for some of my plays in the stock market. Now, I hope this video speaks to you. I hope this video teaches some things and some of those charts were eye-opening to you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button on this side or this side. It'll send it out into the YouTube universe so more people can wake up to the dangers that we face with the fiat currency system, and maybe it'll inspire some people to hedge their bets against the fiat currency system. So leave a comment down below. Leave a comment down below that only hard money is real money. Comment down below, only hard money is real money. Comment that down below. Only hard money is real money. And hey, thanks for watching this video. If you've already subscribed, I appreciate it, and I will see you on the next video.